Don't know why, but I found this to be really hilarious. So he wants the top middle space. I want the top middle space. We go to war over the top middle space, but guess who benefits? The Jokers. Hey guys, welcome to one of my Queen's Blood deck building guides in Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. I will include the entire list in the video description, as well as where to get all of the cards as well, in case you may be missing one or two of them. As you saw in the teaser, this deck capitalizes on the combo between Mindflayer and Joker. The Mindflayer wording is a little bit different than a typical debuffer. If you head to any debuffers, for example the Crown Lands, most debuffers, they lower the power only when they are played, and if there are no cards on the spot, then the debuffing effect goes away. Whereas for the Mindflayer, it says it actually lowers the power as long as the card is in play. So any 1 power cards that land on the debuff spots will continuously get destroyed. And the idea is that you keep feeding 1 power cards, and sometimes the opponent will play 1 power cards as well. And then the Joker will benefit because anytime any cards are destroyed, Joker grows power by 1. For the rest of the deck, it is really complementary to this. There's a ton of synergies in here. First of all, you have your fodders, which is the Mandragora and the Heatseekers. The Mandragora and the Heatseekers, I guess, as well as the Moogle trio, this is a last minute addition into the deck, and it's really optional. You don't really need the Moogle trio, but these 5 cards are sort of the feeders because they are actually 2 cards in one. Mandragora will create 1 card when you play it, and the Heatseeker will create 1 card when it is destroyed, and you will definitely be destroyed sooner or later. The Moogle trio gives you 2 additional cards, so there's a ton of value there, and the 2 additional cards are all 1 power as well. Not only that, the feeders themselves actually have good real estate. They are all only 1 pawn requirements, except for the Moogle trio, which is 2 pawns, and they also provide a lot of additional advancement, chief of which is actually the Heatseeker. It actually has the same advancement as your Shinra Trooper, the one that you get at the start. So this card is actually a big upgrade. Then you also have Capparwire. Capparwire is also amazing for this deck, not only for the advancement, it has advancement to the top, to the bottom, and to the right, but it also has the ability to lower the power of any cards when you pop it into play at the top and bottom of it by 1. And there's a lot of things you can do here. You can obviously use it to destroy the enemy cards if you place it at the bottom or at the top of the cards, and then this will feed into Joker. You can combo it with the Mindflayer. So for example, if the opponent plays a 2 power card, you can combine the -1 power from Mindflayer and -1 power from Capparwire to destroy it. And in the very late game or end game, if you've already sacrificed all your minions and you have no need for your Mindflayer, you can just play Capparwire at the top or bottom of Mindflayer and destroy it, so that you remove the debuffing ability and feed Joker 1 last time. At the start of the game also, you can also just use Capparwire to advance, because since its effect only comes into effect, I guess, when you play it, if you play it as the first card on the left row, in effect you just get a 3 power Shinra Trooper advancement card, more or less. Finally, you have your Bloatfloats and your Archdragon. The Archdragon is really just a value card. You use it to really destroy an opponent card, which also actually feeds into the Joker. But the Archdragon card is there to ensure that you really win in real estate. Usually when you play it, you destroy at least 1 card and gain a pawn in its place, which is really good. And this at least helps to defend your side of the board and prevent the opponent from going too aggressive. Because the one drawback about destroying your own cards, obviously, is that you won't have a lot of cards on the field at the start of the match. So having Archdragon helps to form a line of defense. Bloatfloat, finally, is a fantastic card that synergizes really well with this deck. It is only a 1 power card, so you can feed it to the Mindflayer, and it only requires 1 pawn to play, and it also has very good advancement in terms of real estate. Finally, it also has the ability to lower one enemy card 2 spaces ahead by 4, which is almost all the time when it is destroyed. And you can obviously very easily destroy Bloatfloat just by playing it on top of one of the -1 power spaces from Mindflayer. So in essence, the Bloatfloat gives you real estate and bombs one enemy card, and usually results in +2 power for each of your jokers in play. Finally, in terms of alternatives, you only get this deck operational by Chapter 8 because Joker comes from the Dustbowl on Chapter 8. But there are alternatives. If instead of Joker, you can just play one copy of the Midgarsomr because you get this card very early in Chapter 4. You really only need one of it, so instead of 2 Jokers, you can just use one Midgarsomr. Alternatively, once you reach Costa del Sol, you actually get access to Tonberry King in Costa del Sol. And I'm still actually self-debating whether or not I should use Tonberry King over Joker. Tonberry King increases the power by 2, which is twice as much as Joker, but only gets activated when your own cards are destroyed. So if you are destroying the enemy's cards, it will not proc an increase in Tonberry King. There's a bit of give and take. Overall, I think Tonberry King has the higher ceiling. You can probably get even higher score of Tonberry King, but I think Joker is a little bit more consistent overall. And that's it. So in terms of other alternatives, Deathwheel is also very good. So if you don't have Moogle Trio or any of the other cards, or if you're replacing both Jokers with just the one Midgarsomr, you can have Deathwheel on the other spot. So Deathwheel is also 1 pawn, 1 power, so you can use it as fodder. And it also destroys one enemy card, so in essence it's very similar to Bloatfloat. I do prefer Bloatfloat though over this because Bloatfloat has more real estate, whereas the Deathwheel doesn't actually give you any pawns, which is a huge drawback in my opinion, but it does work if you are, I guess, earlier on in the game. So that's it. With this, let's head on into the match. Now, in terms of starting hand, it's pretty simple. You want to aim to get at least one Joker, and either one of a Capparwire, a Mandragora, or a Heatseeker. Any one of those 3 will do, and you just need one. So it is pretty flexible at the start. If you also happen to start off with a Mindflayer, obviously keep it. But if you don't have a Mindflayer, don't worry about it. Mindflayers can be played later on. If you decide to replace Joker with a Tonberry, then you can't use Mandragora at the start. Then you really have to aim to start off either with a Capparwire or a Heatseeker instead. So the Joker is a bit more flexible than a Tonberry, and so there's really pros and cons to both of them. You want to start off with your Capparwire, Heatseeker, or Mandragora in the middle. And as you can see, put your Jokers, or in the case of Tonberry King, your Tonberry Kings at the top and bottom on the first lane. If you only have one Joker, don't worry about it, just place the one Joker either at the top or bottom lane is fine. The next goal is to aim to get a Mindflayer down on the second row. The ideal spot would be the middle, but if you can't, it is also fine to put the Mindflayer either at the top or bottom on the second row as well. So you can see it's actually very easy to achieve that. Just put again either a Heatseeker, Mandragora, or Capparwire at the top or bottom of the second row. This will increase the pawn in the middle to 2 and allow you to play Mindflayer accordingly. Here I use a Bloatfloat as well. That works. Anything that really increases the pawn to 2 works. This allows you to immediately go to Mindflayer and start feeding it. Once you play the Mindflayer, it's very simple. All the spaces that will -1 power is represented by the purplish glow. From this point on, all you're doing is feeding all your 1 power cards to the Mindflayer while trying to, as much as possible, prevent the opponent from gaining more traction. It's okay if they actually gain a little bit more spaces than you, because by feeding both your Jokers, you will essentially win the top and bottom lane. And even if you lose the middle lane, your top and bottom lane points combined will win you the match. So we are sort of in the middle game now, and this is where the Bloatfloats and the Archdragons come in pretty handy. The main role of them is to defend your side of the board versus the opponent. Because you'll be sacrificing pawns to the Mindflayer, your side of the board will remain relatively open and risky for invasion, but having the Bloatfloats as well as the Archdragons to help destroy the enemy cards as they approach sort of gives you an indirect level of defense. Eventually also you get the Moogle Trio card like so, and sacrificing the Moogle Trio card will also give you 2 more cards, one of which also allows you to destroy an opponent's card as well. And don't forget, because you are playing the Joker also increases in power anytime an opponent card gets destroyed. This is one of the advantages it has over the Tonberry King. I must say this opponent that I'm fighting here is probably the best opponent for this deck because he also plays similar cards and helps me to power up my Jokers, but even on an average scenario, you should really very easily come ahead in the top and bottom rows just by continuously sacrificing your minions. If you look at the cards I have in my hand, there's so many cards that I can use to sacrifice because I'm using all cards that grants me another card upon use. So eventually you will come way ahead in terms of score. And the middle lane is of course at risk. You can see the middle lane is relatively low in score. You can always use high power cards to fill up the middle lane, but really doesn't really matter if the opponent gets a lot of score. It's only one lane versus your 2 lanes and you still win the match. Overall, the thing I really love about this deck is that it is very easy to set up. There are no 3 pawn cards used as well, and all your key cards are placed on the first 2 rows, which you obviously get access very early in the match. In other scenarios, you obviously may not get 2 Jokers all the time at the early game. Really, 1 is enough. Eventually you will draw the other and you can then place it on the first row. This deck also has potential for replacement cards. You get replacement cards sort of around chapter 8 or chapter 9ish. And replacement cards also help to power up the Jokers because they will destroy one of your own cards, so the Jokers will increase in strength. And replacement cards also help you to defend your line as well because it helps to prevent the opponents from gaining ground on the board. So there are some potential there as well, but obviously it's a bit challenging to see what cards to fit in because you can only fit in 15 cards in the deck. There's really so many cards that will work with this, or work with the Jokers, or with the Tonberry Kings in place with the Jokers. There's really a lot of flexibility here. You can also use the Midgarsomr and place it in the middle at the start. Just place one of your 1 pawn at the top and bottom, and you get 3 pins at the middle at the start, and place a Midgarsomr there as well. So that's certainly an option, especially if you haven't unlocked the Joker yet. This deck is certainly a very good option, somewhere around chapter 8, 9 and 10ish. If you are still pretty early on, like I said at the start of the video, you can use Midgarsomr and the Mindflayer, and that is actually just good enough for chapters 4 and 5. I do hope that at least this video has been helpful and interesting, and if you enjoyed the content, do leave a like, comment and subscribe. Till then, wish you guys farewell. Bye!